All right. So today we are talking about the first. This first meeting will be quantitative research in as a as a paradigm. So I will address you some concept of quantitative research to make it different from qualitative research. You know that in this meeting, this will be meeting one. In this meeting, what we are talking about is positivities as foundations of the quantitative research. So quantitative research, as it is different from the qualitative research, should be recognized as the paradigm. So there are three paradigms: quantitative research, qualitative research, and mixed method. Mixed method will be the combinations of quantitative and qualitative research. Because this course is quantitative research, so we are talking only about the quantitative research. First of all, I'd like to ask question. For example, the question is, what is research? So when you are asked by these kinds of questions, what is research? So you have to define the research. I think before defining the research, you have to know what is not research, something that you have to, to identify is that which one is research, which one is not research. Okay, research is not or information gathering. If you just gather the informations and then make into one particular big information and you share it or you address it to someone else, this is not research. Research is not only gathering information from any sources, books, magazine, for example. It is not research because no contribution to new knowledge. Research is not transportation of facts. It means that when you just tell the facts to others and you just address something about the facts to others, all the facts actually are really the facts. For example, all the facts are really the facts, and you want to tell the fact to others, and you call this research. No, this is not research. So, for example, journalist or wartawan is doing that his or her job by telling the information to others by previously get some information from others, and then this is not actually this is not research. Why research? Why it's not research? Because it is not systematic. So research is actually the systematic process of collecting data and analyzing informations. So analyzing information, so collecting data will be the keywords for research. So in order to increase the understanding of the phenomena, this is the purpose of the research. So the research should require some requirements or need some requirements. First one is systematic. So the research should be systematic. It means that there are many steps from the firstly asking question in research questions until concluding something in the conclusions. So when you do the research in a systematic way, then this is called research. Secondly, research should have data. So you have to collect the data, because the data should be in the form of either word or numbers. If the data are numbers, and then it is called quantitative. When the data are words, then it is called qualitative. If you combine the two, and it is called a mixed method. So the data should be something that you consider as the information you collected. And secondly, you have to have an analysis or data analysis. You have the information from the data should be analyzed. So to be researched, you have to analyze the data. What is analyzing the data? Analyzing the data means you are using certain instruments or certain concept or certain data analytical concepts, something like procedures of data analysis. So you use methodology in this case, use research method. Otherwise, it is not. It cannot be called research. And the last thing is that research should increase your understanding of the phenomena. This is the final what is it, the purpose of the research. So the research should give something to contribute new knowledge in the body of knowledge. So the existing body of knowledge, then you put some new knowledge there, then this will be your findings of your research, the finding of your research. So by having all such requirements, you can see that this is a research. Okay. And why do research? I mean, why is it important to make a research or to do research? There are functions of at least there are so many functions of research, but at least I give you three very important research in a big concept. Research is firstly or should firstly seek new truths or add to the existing body of knowledge. New truths mean it is not really new. New means relatively new. So there is something new under the sky. Actually, new means things that you revise, things that you put some small revision or small differences and so on. So I think new truth is the so-called, this is the so-called novelty in research. Novelty is something that is different from others. So when you want to start doing research, first thing that you have to think is what is new in your research? What is different? What is different of your research? I mean, how your research will be different from others? Something like new idea. What is a new idea? New idea doesn't mean that you have 100% new or you create some new things. No, but new means you can put some additional new information to the old informations. For example, if you want to know the anxiety in reading, because so many research on anxiety in reading, then you want to combine anxiety in reading and writing, for example. So there will be new things. What is the new thing? The new things that there will be combinations of anxiety into skills, for example. So new things can be you can see the new thing, or you can make the new things by reading the references. If you don't read the references, it is impossible to make a new thing, because new things can appear when you put the old one, right? The old one is very important. That's why put the old one, then you will know the new one. If you don't put the old one, and then you never know the new one. To put the old one, you have to read the old research findings. The old research findings mean not the very old, but previous research findings. So for example, if you are doing research in 2022, for example, then you have to read the result of research on 2021, 2020, and 2019, at least three years before. And filling the gaps, it means that there is a gap. Gaps mean between what is expected and what is in reality is different. When you have differences in between the expectation and the reality, then it is the gap. So when you fill the gap, that's the gap that you have to do the research on. And then number 3 is redirecting courses. So to redirect the courses of actions, I think, or evaluate policies, you usually use the so-called evaluative research. For example, if you evaluate the curriculum, or you evaluate the ujian nasional or ujian ujian sekolah and so on, or you evaluate Even you evaluate your teaching, for example, or your teaching practice, and so on. So the three things are the big function. I mean, the big parts of the functions of the research that you have to know. Finally, research is actually, I mean, the steps in doing research is generally like this. So all research are following these kinds of steps. First of all, identify the research problem. Of course, you have to see the research problem first, and then review the literature, and then specify the research purpose, collecting data, analyzing data, and evaluate or write report. Okay, so basically all research follow these steps, but some additional steps, like for example, after the literature you have, or before the literature you have the significance of the study, definition of key term, all are additionals. Yeah, but the main point is that you have only this one, the 5 steps: research problem, review of literature, research purpose. This can be research purpose and research problem. I think they are the same. Collecting data and interpreting or analyzing data and writing report. The area now, there are so many area in research. Now you are in a linguistic area, in a TESOL area. So your area will be 3 for research later on, because you are students of language education. As a students of language education, at least you see 3 different big area. The first one is TESOL, TEFL, or TESOL. You know TESOL, you know TEFL, you know TESOL. If you don't know such kind of thing, later on you can ask me. TESOL is TESOL, TESOL, and TESOL, TEFL, TESOL, TEFL, and TESOL are all area of language teaching. You can teach foreign language, English as a foreign language, and as a second language, or teaching to other speakers of other languages, other English, teaching English to speakers of other languages. And then this is talking about teaching and learning English, for example, reading, writing, teaching, reading, teaching, writing, learning, reading, writing, learning, speaking, learning grammar, and all the things about teaching and learning are included into the so-called sub-area of research, TESOL, TEFL, or TESOL. But you can also see other area which is pure linguistics. Pure linguistics means you are doing research on, maybe, for example, discourse analysis, or psycholinguistics, or sociolinguistics, and so on. So in this linguistics, I think you are not concerning with how to teach language, but you are concerning with, or your concern will be with the language itself, the language study. It means that you analyze the language, parts of the language, for example, phonology, what is it? Phonology, phonetics, morphology, and so on. So usually, if you use you want to analyze or investigate the linguistics of your language, Bahasa Indonesia, it will be, or it is the, the area of jurusan Bahasa Indonesia. Students of jurusan Bahasa Indonesia will have the same thing, but the area is in Bahasa Indonesia. So you don't have to analyze this kinds of area by using the subject of Bahasa Indonesia. Don't use subject of Bahasa Indonesia subject, but you use English because you are English department. So, for example, I like to investigate the structure, morphological structure of Bahasa Kutai, for example. No, they belong to the area of students of Bahasa Indonesia, ya, mahasiswa Bahasa Indonesia itu. But if you want to go to the linguistic area, then you have to focus on the English linguistics. For example, you want to analyze the phonetic transcription of Joe Biden's speech, for example, or you want to analyze movies in English movies, some English movies, or English channel news, for example, from CNN or for BBC World News and so on. So all are areas in linguistics that you can use as subjects of your research later on. Next is the literature. You are also supposed to investigate literature's area. In the literature, you have poetry or poem, drama, or you have songs and so on. So there are so many areas of research in literature. So by having such kinds of three areas, actually you can take the data sources from two different things, people and text. If you want to use people, for example, students of SMA, students of SD and so on, or even your friends, semester English department students in the first or second semester, for example, you want to analyze their works in linguistic or teaching or in literature. But if you want to use the text, it is easier. For example, if you use the text of poem or drama or what is it, some text from discourse analysis, or some text from the newspaper, or from other things like short story and so on. So the data sources could be from people, I mean, what people do, or what the text address. So usually in this session, I mean, in these circumstances, in COVID-19 circumstance, I think it is easier for a student to analyze the text. So, but if you want to use people as your data sources, that's okay, by having virtual meeting, like teaching in virtual meetings or something like that. So basically you have two different data sources. So areas of research for EFL students, as I told you earlier, linguistic literature and language teachings is like this. This is the example, yeah, the phonetics, syntax, and so on. So linguistic area means the pure linguistic, pragmatics, or discourse analysis, or the data sources can be speech, people's speech, or newspapers, movies, artifacts, and so on. And the literature can be a structure of genre or reader's response or whatever about the literature. For example, the people's speech, or newspapers, for example, or movies or artifacts. In language teaching, I think teachers, students learning, and then teaching artifacts like textbooks, curriculum, and so on, or even your course if you have course, English courses, and so on. Right, so those are the areas. So usually when after if you want to read some sources, you can go to the journal and then download the articles. This is the example of the articles. When you go to the journals and find out the article of research report, not the articles of non-research. There are two different kinds of article in the journal. Articles of concept or conceptual article, in which conceptual are present there to analyze by the writer or authors. But the other one is the result of research presented in the journals. What you have to find out is the latter one. I mean the research articles. How do we find we distinguish research and non-research article? Find out the method. If there is a subheading called methods, then it is research article. Kalau tidak ada methodsnya, it is not research article. So you can go to several journal to find out. how to distinguish quantitative and qualitative research. Find out look at the methods. If the method says that it is quantitative and it will make data like this and analyze the data like this and in the form of statistical procedures or numerical things, and then you call this as quantitative. But if it is only the words as the data, then you call this as qualitative. All right. So those are the research definitions, or what is research. Now we go to the we go deeply on what research is, epistemologically, and then ontologically, methodologically, and so on. So research actually, first of all, first thing that you have to know in research is what's out there to know. Is the what means the things that you have to investigate. This is the ontology. The ontologist is asking the what. And then epistemology, what and how can we know about it, about research? How can we know about research? Methodology, how can we go about acquiring about knowledge? Then talking about the methods. And then methods is the things, the very smaller things, in this concept, which precise procedure, which procedures can we use to acquire the knowledge, and finally which data can we collect. So actually this is what I talked earlier about the concept of research. And that's why the research, as I told earlier, that there are three paradigms of research. The so-called paradigm is the foundations. The foundation. Why do you need to follow the certain research paradigm? Because you have the so-called epistemological stance. So we have positivist, interpretivist, and pragmativist. Quantitative research use positivist. Quantitative research use interpretivist, and mixed method use pragmatisms. Those three different things, positivist, interpretives, and pragmatisms are under the so-called scientific paradigm. All sciences use the so-called epistemological stance, the foundations of the science. So every science should have foundation. The foundation is the so-called epistemological stance, like positivists and so on. So since we are talking now about the quantitative traditions of paradigm, and then we are talking about positivists. What is positivist? Before talking about positivists, I think I give you such kinds of big picture of the research as a tree diagram, or like a tree, and then there are so many, like a tree, and then the root is the philosophical of science, or philosophy of science. In the philosophy of science, I think we talk about the foundations of the research, as I told you earlier, the paradigm, the philosophical, the epistemological stance. And then go upper, you have scientific methods. That's the methods of the research method, you call it research method. And then finally you have the, what do you call this, the smaller one, or the smallest one? This is called research design, something like that. So If you see the research design, so many research design there: operation research, developmental research, action research, historical research, experimental research, and so on. You have at least 3 different parts: need to know, need to do, need to know, and needs to choose. In the needs to do, actually, the research is going to do something. For example, action research. In an action research, you do something to conclude. And then needs to know means in the research, you need to know something or to analyze something. For example, historical research or survey research, you want to know something, experimental research. In the needs to know parts of the research, I think the researcher need to explore something to know the phenomena, right? Different from the needs to do. In the needs to do, the authors or the researcher is going to do something to conclude the phenomena. And then need to choose means to evaluate, to choose which one is good, which one is bad. In the needs to choose part, a researcher is going to evaluate something. That's why you have the so-called evaluation research, something like need analysis or formative education and evaluation and so on. So in these parts of research, researcher is going to evaluate a program, can be evaluate a book or research or a textbooks, or evaluating the for example, the curriculum and so on. So all are needs to choose parts of the research. By having such information, you know comprehensively what research is. And this is the clear clear picture of the clear slides of the parts of the research. So philosophy of science, scientific method, and you have 3 different parts, and all are there over there. What about the quantitative research? You can find this one. If experimental research, descriptive research, ex post facto, and so on. In the need to know, right? But there are also qualitative research over there. So qualitative research and quantitative research is not separated from the three parts of the scientific methods. This is only to make an ease to you to find the concepts clearly. Now let's go to the keys of our topic today is the positivist. Positivist is a epistemological stance for quantitative research. Why is it called positivist? Later on, we talk about the principle of positivist. But things that you have to remember is that all quantitative research designs follow the frame of positivist, right? So look at the picture, the small picture over there in the slides. The truth, knowledge, and belief. Actually, research is finding out the truth to find the knowledge and belief. So, which one is positivist? To find the truth. This is the way to find the truth, and the way is the positivist or the spectacles, or this the glasses. The glasses, when you use glasses to see the truth in life. When you use positivist, then the class is called classes of positivists. But if you use interpretivist, and the classes is interpretivist, and if you use mixed method or pragmatism, and then the classes is pragmatism. Classes kacamata, ya. The principle of positive is to know knowledge, values, and ethics, and all other things is knowledge about knowledge is built up like building blocks according to positivists by adding new knowledge to old knowledge. So when you make a new knowledge, then you make to add it to the old knowledge. Positivist claims to be value-free, objective. So positivists in seeing the knowledge should be objective. It means that there is no interpretations of someone or the researcher. So should be free of interpretations. And positivists also view values as confounding variables that needs to be controlled in the study. So there should be control, control variable to control. I mean, you give treatment to the phenomena that you want to investigate. And in terms of methodology, positivist is isolate and remove subjectivity. There is no subjectivity. I mean, no interpretation. So this is the principle of positivism. So that's why positivist perspective said that assumption, or we assume that there is a reality independent of our cognition. So we see the reality which is independent to cognitions. So I think something like this. If you want to see the phenomena, then actually the phenomena can say something beyond our cognitions. They can something else to us. They can something to us, and then after this we have new knowledge about the things. So we cannot interpret it as this. I mean that reality, because reality is standing by itself. So you cannot interpret the reality based on individuals, but the reality can go to individuals. That's why it is the so-called outsider. When you see the things and there is no relationship between the thing and you. It is different from qualitative. If it is qualitative, everyone can interpret the things, and finally things can means many things based on the interpretation of anyone. But in a quantitative research or in a positivist, things is the things. There is no interpretation from anyone. This is the concept of positivist. Careful research, that's why careful research design can access it by having careful research or careful design. You can do that. Otherwise, you cannot. That's why you need the kinds of rigid methodology. For example, using statistic, using number. There will be rigid because using number is can be rigid in terms of analyzing the things. Okay, and then just wait a minute. Any questions so far? Just a minute. Yeah, I'd like to. All right. Next, this one. Look at this picture or these slides. Quantitative analysis or quantitative data, numerical data. So research classification. Just forget the mix first. The mix method, because mixed methods will be out there from the two. Okay. Quantitative research is quantitative research, cause-effect relationship prediction, test, hypothesis testing, and so on. This is the kinds of research of the quantitative. And quantitative research is based on numerical data. It means that your data will be numerical. It means that your data are in the form of numbers. Numbers is like doing the test, and then you get the scores, and the score are numbers. So every time you do the quantitative research, you have to make a kinds of numbering. So make everything to be numbering or to be numbers. So making it into numbers, it means that everything can be formed into number. For example, if you do the what is it, questionnaire, you administer the questionnaire, or you set up the questionnaire should be number. For example, ABC, or like, dislike, and so on. And number one and number two, or number one and number zero, zero and one, for example, yes or no, zero and one, and so on. So all are numbering. Interview, for example, if you want to make an interview, it's okay, interview for quantitative research, but interview is usually for qualitative research. But if you want to make an interview for quantitative research, you use numbering. For example, if you say yes, and then I count one. If you say no, and I count zero, for example, then counting all the items in the interview will be the final scores of the interview results, for example. So everything can be made into numbers. And there are so many approaches. Later on, we talk about the approach of quantitative research. So in short, quantitative research is, the paradigms, one of the research paradigm in which the epistemological stance is positivist. And positivist is a kind of spectacle, or kinds of classes that you can use to see the phenomena outsider, as an outsider. So you become an outsider. It means that the phenomena stands by itself as a phenomena. I mean, the phenomenon stands as itself to be a phenomenon. So cannot be interpreted by the seer, or the viewers, something like that.